Hi everyone, this is Becky. It's Thursday night and I have my workout clothes on. I was just out doing a lot of walking on the treadmill, trying to get a little jogging in, really trying to ramp up my fitness level. And so for the last couple years, or for the last year, I have really ramped up the amount of walking I do in a day. Today I will have already gotten 20,000 steps, woohoo! And I've also gotten myself back to the gym. And you know how they say Rome wasn't built in a day? Neither were my muscles. So I'm going to be kicking it into almost high gear here for a while to see what I can get back. Um, did a lot of walking. And tonight, ironically, my feet really felt it. Especially while I was on the treadmill. Got some new shoes, breaking them in. And as I was doing it, I had already thought that I wanted to share with you my thoughts about the Last Supper and Jesus washing his disciples' feet. And like I said, and I was on the treadmill and I really felt my feet. You might say it really brought a lot to mind about washing feet and how important the feet are. When I first became a therapist, I can remember it being driven into me from the senior therapist that I work with, just how important it is to have the feet on a good stable base, to have a good support. If they're sitting in a wheelchair, if they're sitting in any kind of chair, on a bench, you want those feet on a nice solid surface. But you also want those feet being able to tolerate being on a surface. You want them to be active. You want them to be mobile. Having a stiff foot and trying to stand on that just doesn't work. The foot is actually a very mobile part of your body. And I double checked this, looked it up. There are 27 bones in a foot, and there's 33 joints in a foot. And that's something else that really made me think again about Jesus washing his disciples' feet. So I kind of have put this all together over the years, and yeah, it's been a lot of years since I first became a therapist, and have built it up and built it up. And there's just so much in that Last Supper and Jesus washing his disciples' feet that's just really built into our body to begin with. Like I said, it's 27 joints, 33 joints, and it's kind of ironic, 33, because Jesus lived for 33 years and he walked with his disciples for 3 years, which leads me to another point that's kind of ironic. When babies first start walking, it's probably about somewhere between 10 months to 18 months is kind of the norm anymore. And but as they start walking, that first year, they're doing standing. They don't even begin to take a step until they have just stood and just bounced and bounced and bounced in place. They're learning, just how much they need to use all those muscles. They're getting those feet ready. Before they even stand next to anything, they're playing with their feet. They're rubbing them together. And what parent can resist just kissing those cute little feet on their little babies? And then they stand and they're just bounced probably between 3,000 to 5,000 times before they even take a step. And then after that, when they're walking, their walk doesn't even look mature until about 3 years, which kind of takes us to the Last Supper and Jesus getting ready to get his disciples to carry on his work. Yeah, Jesus had done a whole lot of work, and he'd been preparing those disciples, and he'd been getting them more and more mature and working with them right up to the very end. He didn't quit teaching. He didn't quit preparing them. And even when he was on the cross, he was still giving instructions. He was still teaching. And then when he was resurrected, he was even teaching them some more. So, like I said, I got thinking a lot about when Jesus was washing his disciples' feet. Let me just read to you in John 13, start at verse 1. And it says, "It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave the world and to go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with a towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, 'Lord, are you going to wash my feet?' Jesus replied, 'You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand.' 'No,' said Peter, 'you will never wash my feet.' Jesus answered, 'Unless I wash you, you have no part with me.' Then Lord, Simon Peter replied, 'Not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well.' Jesus answered, 'Those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean, and you are clean, though not every one of you.' For he knew who was going to betray him. That was why he said not everyone was clean. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. 'Do you understand what I have done for you?' he asked them. 'You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set for you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." Okay, so a couple things. Yeah, Jesus was getting them all ready for what was to come. Even Judas. And he washed Judas's feet, knowing that he was the one to betray him. Okay. And not happy about being stuck inside tonight. But when they got to the Last Supper, they would have been walking around outside. They had dirt on their feet. They had the day's travels on their feet because they didn't have closed-toed shoes. They had sandals. So they would have been collecting dirt all through the day on those feet. And trust me, having worked especially with adults, there are some pretty disgusting feet out there. So, it's just, one more thing to be amazed at Jesus is that he got down there and he got next to those dirty feet and cleaned them. If you look all through the Old Testament, you'll see a lot talking about feet. Especially what really hit me was when the Israelites were getting ready to go into take over Canaan, to turn it to Israel. God told them, wherever your feet touch, you will own it. Also, Jesus walked on the water, and there's a part of me that thinks, it's like he walked on that water because he is Lord of the water. He owns it, and he's the master of it. Abigail, when she was keeping David from making a really big mistake, and you can read about that in, should be First Kings and probably First Chronicles. Abigail put herself at David's feet. She humbled herself and she put herself under his authority while she was telling him, hey, don't make a big mistake and kill my husband, and let me make it right. And she kept him from making some big mistakes. She kept him on a good path. Well, fast forward to the Last Supper, and Jesus is taking those disciples' feet. And yeah, he humbled himself, and he's like, yeah, and you're going to need to humble yourself before each other, before other people. Because a good teacher doesn't come out with a lot of pride. They come out with humbleness and servitude and, leading from in front, but also alongside. So many things. But anyway, also when Jesus sent the disciples out to start, for their first mission trip, he told them, if a town doesn't accept you, walk out and, shake the dust of their land off your feet. So Jesus is taking them and he's putting himself in this, very, humble yet leader type position. And he's getting rid of everything that's in their past, all the bad, all the dirt. He's washing them off their feet so that they can start their ministry, they can start their new life, taking over where he left off, so to speak. Jesus wasn't done, but he was done on earth, so he was needing somebody else that was going to keep walking that path. And so he washed their feet. He got them ready so they could keep going. Humble, yet leading. This is a topic that has been near and dear to my heart for a lot of years. And as I was walking and my feet were hurting, and I was thinking about all that walking that Jesus did and that his disciples were about to do, it's like it just really made me think, we've got to care for our feet. Jesus knew that, but he also knew he was getting rid of the old so they could get started with the new. They were about ready to take over after 3 years, reaching that mature place in life. Not that their walk was going to be perfect. In fact, a child's gait may look mature at 3, but they're not, fully adult mature type walking until they're 7. So yeah, just more things to kind of think about. God made our bodies very special, and I think he made them to reveal a lot of principles in life, in biblical life. But anyway, we're getting ready for Easter. We got a lot to do, a lot of thinking. For any of you who have fasted anything, yeah, I fasted playing games on my phone. Really needed to so I could do other things in life. But it gives me time to think and gives me time to prepare and get ready for that. Yeah, there's a day that we're going to be called to go out more. And it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take perseverance. It's going to take studying. And most of all, it's going to be just being willing. So I ask for you to pray that I keep going to the gym and I get these muscles built back to where I want them to be. And pray for me that Jesus can keep me walking where I want to walk. And I'll pray for you that Jesus can help you keep walking where he wants you to walk. Thanks for listening. Hope to hear from you. Press like. Follow me. And just thanks for your time. Have a good night.